Good morning, CMS families. Thank you for joining today's Family Academy Coffee Chat, unlocking the SAT Advantage tips and tools for parents. Please take a moment to sign into today's session using the bit.ly that's been shared on the screen and added into the Q&A. We are excited to welcome today's presenter, Ms. Michelle Larcy from College Board. During today's session, we will have translation features available. To access today's translation features, please select Captions in the top right-hand corner of your screen. From there, please select Show Live Captions. And then from the drop-down, please select the language of your choosing. Once again, select Captions, Show Live Captions, and then select the language of your choosing from the drop-down. And families, we are excited to engage with you on today's call. For any questions, please use the Q&A feature located in the top right-hand corner. Our Q&A will be monitored during today's call, and all questions will be answered during our Q&A time. Additionally, we want to make sure that today's session is meeting your needs and we are tailoring our communication to all of your specific questions and answers. Please utilize the React feature to share any aha, wow, or excited moments. This feature will be used today for a few just engagement opportunities, so please take note of that reaction feature. And at this time, I am excited to turn it over to our presenter, Ms. Michelle Larcy from College Board, who will be sharing Unlocking the SAT Advantage.
Good morning, everyone. And Molly, thank you so much. CMS parents, it is wonderful to be with you today and to talk about all of the tools that are available for your students as they engage with the PSAT and the SAT. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools is a wonderful support for your students, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today, too. I am Michelle Lurcy here in North Carolina. We have the North Carolina Advanced Placement Partnership, and we are on the ground, four of us, to support North Carolina districts in all things related to College Board, including advanced placement courses and the SAT suite. And so I am so glad to be with you guys today. I am an English teacher of 16 years and then went into administration and then retired and came to the College Board. And so I just very much appreciate you coming today to spend time with us. Our job with the North Carolina AP partnership is to make sure that we're supporting schools and teachers and communities on how to prepare students for rigorous and challenging coursework, how they can prove what they've learned on an AP exam or in what we're talking about today on the PSAT or the SAT, help them pursue the jobs that they want, the careers that they want, and how to persist no matter what path they choose after school, whether it's apprenticeship, 2 year, 4 year. We want them to persist in whatever they choose to do. And that's part of the work that we get to do every day. So we're going to have one of those reactions first that Molly just mentioned. And why consider one of the SAT assessments? So, to get us started, give us a reaction to show how do you currently feel about standardized tests like the SAT or the ACT? You probably know much more maybe about the ACT, but you got three reactions there: mostly positive, the heart, mixed or unsure with the thumbs up, and then the ooh face for concerned. So I'll be quiet for a minute and let you give a reaction, and Molly will tell us what she's
Mm.
seeing.
Absolutely. We are having a lot of families giving us that mixed and unsure. We're seeing a few concerns. I think I saw one positive, but a lot of those mixed and unsures, Michelle.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. That's such great feedback. So I'm hoping by the end of our time today, you'll feel more comfortable, like you have more information. And that's the whole purpose of what your wonderful CMS leadership wanted to happen today. First of all, we've got lots of names out there, SAT, ACT, but what if there was one test that could open doors to college, to scholarships, and to careers for students and give educators and the teachers of your children data and tools that they needed to help tailor instruction? So this is what the SAT suite is designed to do. And so we very much are in this age of rethinking assessments. What is most important for students to spend their time doing? We're in the time where families and educators alike are concerned about the time and energy that students are spending on testing that doesn't always translate into meaningful data or insights that support their learning or their growth in specific skills. So this is where the SAT suite comes in. Now with my southern accent, I'm not sure what suite you thought I might have been using here, but I wanted to give you this visual of what the SAT suite means. So it's not just the SAT, which is at the end, toward the end of a student's high school career, where we get that final measure of are they ready for college and career readiness. The suite of assessments are three PSAT tests that are available, and then that SAT. So we have the PSAT 8-9, which is setting a baseline for student readiness. We have the PSAT 10, and we have the big PSAT. This is the PSAT NMSQT, which is the National Merit PSAT. These two PSATs monitor progress and enhance instruction. So we're going to spend some time talking about this middle PSAT and talking about the SAT so you can have a better feel for what it means when we talk about a suite of assessments. First of all, College Board is dedicated to making sure that if your students take any of these assessments, that they're on this cohesive pathway from high school to what is next after high school. So all of the SAT suite of assessments are focused and predictive. They are not, oh, let me take a mini version of the SAT in the 8th grade, the ninth grade, the 11th grade. No, these are all specifically designed assessments to see where student learning is at a specific time of their instruction. So we're in the 8th and ninth grade. We should be at specific benchmarks for learning. Let's assess it and see. The same thing for 10, 11, and then the SAT at the end. It is very streamlined and it reduces student fatigue. It is not those long hours of bubbling that you may have had that I had. Most importantly, though, every assessment your student takes comes with actionable results to identify strengths in learning and to identify gaps in learning. And because it's the SAT suite, these are reliable and trusted assessments. They are research backed, they are trusted all over the world, and they are considered a consistent, reliable measure to colleges and universities of where our students are in their learning. So the suite itself leads the industry. One, because it's a pathway to opportunity. It is a globally recognized credential. So students earning scores on the SAT here in Charlotte, North Carolina, compares to the learning of students in Spain, in California, in Iowa. And it is a very much a standard credential. And it is now completely digital through our own platform called Blue Book. So if your students have taken any advanced placement exams last year, or they have taken the PSAT 11, which is that NMSQT, they've used this Blue Book application that is adaptive and it is secure, valid, and very student friendly. The PSATs and the SAT are now about 2 hours long. That is the reduction of over an hour since when you and I took these tests. This allows students to show what they know in a quicker amount of time, reducing test anxiety. It also, and this is as a former teacher, this is the most important part for me. It provides comprehensive data and insights that we don't get from other assessments. We get score reports to help educators know where our students are in their learning, inform their instructional decisions, help them do targeted interventions for students, and then identify AP potential. So the PSATs are allowing your school leadership to see what advanced placement course potential was revealed in that PSAT that the students just completed. And it's a launching pad for the future. So this is a part that you may not know, that the SAT opens doors, of course, to college admissions, but to scholarships and to personalized career exploration that can transform their next paths. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this PSAT NMSQT. We call it the PN. So if you hear me slip and say the PN, that's what I'm referring to here. But it monitors progress and enhances instruction. Now, students, your 10th graders are taking this in fall of their 10th grade year, and your 11th graders in fall of their 11th grade year. And so this is a big shout out to Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools who are investing in your students. They are the only school district in our state who provides the funding so that every 10th grader and every 11th grader has the access to take this PSAT NMSQT, this National Merit Qualifying Exam, which we'll talk about in a minute. Every child gets the opportunity to take this in the 10th and the 11th grade in the fall. And what this allows is that CMS is wanting your students to have that access so then they get the ability to see what reading, writing, and math skills, where are our students at this point. It helps students to understand their strengths and their skills, and it provides their teachers with such valuable insight on where they are in their learning. So here's what this test does, and your students, your 10th graders took this in the fall, your 11th graders took this in the fall. And it is given to both 10th and 11th graders, as CMS is doing, which we so appreciate. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. And you can see that this is scored not on the SAT scale. The SAT scale is up to 1600 because this is a test that measures where students are in this phase of learning. It goes to 1420. They have two sections, reading and writing and math, and they're able to use the calculator with a built-in calculator in the Blue Book app, and score reporting usually comes back within those 2 weeks. So I wanted to read this quote because I think this is part of the changing mindset around PSAT assessments. It's getting back those PSAT related assessment results does not define a student, but it's one piece we use when we look at students as a whole. Are there gaps that we're missing and that we're seeing over and over again? And how can we fill those gaps? So, if there's one thing I would love for you to remember today, it's that, like CMS using the PSAT, is to help look at our student learning in a whole. So, where are the gaps in learning and what can we do to address those gaps? So, let's get a reaction from you. So, use one of our reactions there to show how valuable do you think early feedback like these PSAT results feels for your student? Is there value in your students getting this kind of instructional feedback in their 10th or 11th grade fall?
Wow, Michelle, I am just seeing hearts, hearts, hearts coming straight
Yay!
up. Our families agree. They see the value, they see somewhat or very valuable, but lots and lots of those heart reactions for this section.
Thank you, Molly. That's awesome. Okay, so let's continue to build on the value that CMS is providing through this investment and then other values that come from that. This is a very important value. And this is one of the reasons I believe that CMS is investing in all of your students because this, if you've heard of the National Merit Scholarship Program, this is a program completely separate from College Board. They're their own entity, but they only use the PSAT NMSQT in the 11th grade year. They only use that to determine national merit identification. So if you want to learn more about national merit after the webinar, you can just Google it, the National Merit Scholarship. But it's a whole program and what the National Merit Qualifying Test. Now, even though we've got 10th graders taking the PSAT the PN, in 10th grade fall, they're not qualifying for national merit until 11th grade fall. So CMS is investing in your children to make sure that they're getting the experience in 10th grade fall, and then when it comes time to qualify for national merit, not only have we had a year of data to work with, but we are also now being able to qualify for this extensive scholarship program. So, what the National Merit Program does is, of course, it gives scholarships and but it also does recognition of student performance on the PSAT. So in other words, they recognize with recognition awards. It's very nice for a student to get those and put that on their resume for college or whatever plan they want to do after high school. So national merit is a very important part, and we have so many students in our state who don't have the opportunity to qualify for anything to do with national merit because they don't have access to the PSAT NMSQT. Charlotte Meck, only district in the state, is making sure that every 11th grader is having that access and that every 10th grader is getting access for data purposes and growth prior to the 11th grade year. What this PSAT the National Merit Qualifying Test, also does is it assesses our student performance. It gives them the idea of what this SAT is going to feel like. It identifies AP potential, which AP courses could they excel in. And here's the new part of the discussion. It connects to scholarships. By simply taking the PSAT in the 11th grade of fall, students become connected to all kinds of scholarships. So we're going to talk more about the scholarships in just a minute. But first, let's go ahead and do an emoji, a reaction that represents that PSATN benefit that matters most to your family right now. The academic progress, the SAT practice, the scholarships, or all of the above. What matters most to your family?
I'm seeing a lot of those all of the aboves coming through, that academic progress, SAT, and scholarships. So all of the above and a few call outs for some of those specifics. But wow, our families are excited about these opportunities.
That is awesome. And the beauty of this is, and I don't often get to talk like this, is that every 11th grader in the fall at Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools is having access to this. And that is awesome for us at the College Board as educators at the partnership because we want every student to have access to national merit. Okay, so next what we are going to talk about is the SAT itself. And this is usually taken by students on a Saturday, either in spring of their 11th grade year or fall of their 12th grade year. And of course, students can take it more than one time. And in the best scores are taken and put together. So if we do really well on reading and writing one time, and we do really well on math the next time, those scores are put together for a composite score. But let's talk a little bit about the SAT. Again, it's 2 hours and 14 minutes. It's on the Blue Book app. It is all the way up to that 1600 scale. What's important about the SAT is it is truly giving colleges and universities insight into your students' readiness for college, not in a punitive way, not in a way to keep them from admissions, but rather in a way to inform the colleges and universities what skill sets their students are coming with, and then what growth areas they're going to need support in when they get there. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. So it measures core skills for students. Where are students in their learning by the beginning of this senior year? They are aligned to our state standards. So then the SAT is providing insight and resources for the next level beyond high school of where students are in their learning. It's very flexible, it's secure, and students who have taken any of the PSAT related assessments, like your students in Charlotte Mech, will be very familiar with Blue Book, with SAT, with format, with all of it. So let's talk about why the SAT is such a productive assessment for students to spend 2 hours and 14 minutes on a Saturday morning, because it gives you and your students and their school, if they choose to share it at the school level, the strengths and where they need targeted improvements. And so this is really important because it's going to give insight into how the students have learned. It confirms college readiness. So there is a reason why the SAT is required for admission at some state universities and colleges, required because not in a punitive way to keep students out, but in a way to, first of all, one, that they took the SAT, but two, it gives them an idea of where students stand in their learning, because colleges and universities tend to trust the SAT as more of an indicator of student strength than a GPA, because a GPA is subjective and a SAT is very standard, because with the same SAT that we're taking here in North Carolina, everyone else is taking as well. They all look different because students all get a different looking test, but it is very trusted by colleges. It can reduce college expenses. The SAT opens the door for scholarships. It supports skill development, which is extremely important for colleges and universities to be able to see where are our students in their skill development. And we've provided career pathways for students as well that we're going to talk about. The students, when they're 16, 17, may not know what they want to do after high school, and that's very normal. So, what we want to do is help them explore what those options are for them. Here are the scholarships that we're talking about. The SAT is connected not only to national merit, and you see that national merit is listed there first, but the SAT and the PSAT 11, the one that your students are taking, are also connected to all of these major scholarships as well, simply because they value what the PSAT and the SAT, the data that it gives them, and they value that the students have put the initiative into spending 2 hours and 14 minutes on this assessment for their own learning. These are just a few of the big ones, and I'm going to show you a way that students are able to connect to many more than this. This just represents about $300 million in scholarships available to students. So let's get a reaction to show how surprising this may be to you. You may not be surprised, but that there is an SAT scholarship connection that's legit and real. So let's get some of your reactions to that.
I think we've got a good swing in the room. I'm seeing very surprised and not surprised at all. So it's great that
Good.
this is some new learning and some of our families are showing a little surprise too. So across the board, we're seeing all three responses.
Thank you. Thank you all for responding. Thank you, Molly. So let's talk about another favorite part that only the SAT has and the PSAT, and that is the free practice. It used to be back when I was teaching that students were taking SAT prep courses. And um, again, I don't know how much that really helped, but what we have at the SAT is a partnership with Khan Academy. And I can tell you from personal experience, my daughter had a specific school she wanted to go to, and she had a specific SAT she had to hit a number. This is University of Florida. And even though we live here in North Carolina, we've got many great institutions, amazing schools in our state. She used Big Future, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute, and she found the exact program she wanted to major in only at the University of Florida. But they require the SAT, and she had to get to a certain score. So she took the SAT in the spring of her junior year, and she was 200 points away from where she needed to be, 180 points away from where she needed to be for University of Florida. So she was able then to take the data that she got from her SAT, and she knew exactly what she needed to study. She plugs it in over at Khan Academy, free to her, free to your students, and she only redid and relearned the part she was struggling in. So she retakes it early fall of her senior year and got the 200 points that she needed. And all she did was study on Khan. And so all of you probably have heard of Sal Khan, who created Khan Academy. And we are proud at College Board that we have the partnership with Khan. But what we also provide students are 7 full-length practice tests that they have access to on the Blue Book testing application, completely free, that is adaptive, and it looks and feels and acts just like the SAT is going to look and feel and act when they take it. What our educators have is a question bank of 3,500 real SAT questions that are tagged to our North Carolina state standards. And I will tell you, Charlotte-Meck is leading the way with the use of this question bank. The leadership of Charlotte Meck is examining the question bank, and they're using it for not necessarily PSAT and SAT prep, but for using it for Math 1 and English 1 and English 2, because they are aligned to our state standards, which are preparing your students not only for their end of course tests, but by default for the PSAT and the SAT as well. So I'm just so proud of what Charlotte Meck leadership is doing to get all of this um, provided to your students to help them. So these are the free practice resources that all students have. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm really going to want my junior or my senior next year to take SAT. And so there are 3 dates left for this year, and they're all Saturday test dates. Lots of sites in Charlotte Meck where the SAT is offered on the weekend. And so here is registration information. You will, Molly will be providing you this deck. You will have this link. And if you're interested in your students taking an SAT, your juniors in the spring, and then we'll get new dates for your seniors in the fall, here are the opportunities for you. I would encourage you to look at the June 6th date for your juniors, because they will be at the end of their learning for their junior year. And this is going to be a great data capture for you and for them to see where gaps may be and what they may need to do to prepare for a fall administration that they want to take their senior year. So let's talk for a minute. When the pandemic hit, a lot of colleges and universities went test optional. And what that means, they were no longer requiring an SAT score to be submitted or an ACT score to be submitted. But colleges are beginning now to require scores again, not for punitive reasons, but because the SAT still remains one of the best predictors of first year college success and retention. There is a university here in the state, and I won't give the name because I didn't ask permission, who has decided to require the SAT again, not to determine admission, but to help them know, especially on the math side, to prepare for what are their incoming freshmen going to need support in their freshman year. And that's really important because they're getting a head start on being able to support the gaps that they're seeing their students have in math that they haven't been ready to support. So they are still believing, they do believe that the power of the SAT is a predictor of success and retention. That's the most important thing, is students get into our colleges and universities, but we want them to stay. Now, in terms of admission decisions, what we found was, and you can Google this and read the research, is that when they stopped requiring an SAT, a lot of students were getting overlooked that should not have been overlooked. And so sometimes what that SAT score allows schools to see is that students that are coming from different academic backgrounds, and remember, there's not a whole lot of trust in that GPA these days because it's so subjective, that they want a standard measure. They want to be able to look and see what students are achieving in reading and writing and in math. And it is strengthening merit decisions. So that SAT is a good um, uh, assessment for students to, I didn't want to use the word think, it's a good assessment for scholarship programs and financial aid offices to see when they're talking about awarding funding, because it's showing already the skills that our students are coming to their colleges and universities with. So, how are colleges using data beyond admissions? And I think sometimes we get stuck on the SAT for admissions only, and that is not the case any longer. The pandemic changed all that. So, colleges have gotten really smart because they want your kids to come to their schools. So, they're seeing now that SAT scores, like that university I just mentioned, are helping them place students in appropriate courses. And so they can look at the learning that they have in math according to this standardized SAT, and they can say, you know what, I think we don't even need a placement test for this student. We can go ahead and place this student in this math based on what they've shown us, based on their learning. It also now, if we've got institutions that have money to give for scholarships, some are starting to tie those SAT scores to automatic scholarships. So in some cases, colleges and universities will say every student who makes this score on the SAT will automatically get this much in aid from our school. It also helps colleges and universities decide what we just talked about. Okay, so our incoming freshman class took the SAT. Here's a trend in math. We're going to have to address this trend, because for students to enter the STEM colleges that are in our colleges and universities, they've got to be able to show certain depth and success in math courses. And so we've got to make sure that students can get into the School of Engineering or get into a computer science course because their math is where it needs to be. And so they can help them their freshman year if it's not. And this I love is accepting more at-risk students into their colleges and universities. And with an SAT score, they get all the data they need to see what kind of academic support they're going to need fall of their freshman year. And that in turn will improve the retention rates. And that SAT score is allowing colleges and universities to say, we'd like to invite you into the Honors College, or we'd like to allow you to be part of this major, or we could even accelerate your degree pathways by placing you out of certain courses. So let's talk as we come to the end of the SAT part, is how much have you learned, or what have things been clarified for you today about the SAT suite?
Wow. Oh, wow. I'm seeing lots of new learning, a few nuggets, and some great review, but lots and lots of new learning and lots of new nuggets.
I love that. Love that. That's awesome. And when we get to the Q&A, if you've got specific questions, we can certainly talk about those too. We're very excited about that. But I've got this next part that I feel is very important. And this is connecting students to college and career. And uh, students are not innately deciding early, oh, I'm going to be a teacher, or oh, I'm going to be an engineer. Students are really thinking about all the options that they have, or they're just not sure what they want to do. So, College Board, and this is all free, everything I'm about to share with you, is created Big Future. And what Big Future does is it's two tools that help students to explore what they are interested in and what motivates them so they can start making college and career plans informed. So we got two different options here. And your CMS students have access to both. And so, but I want to explain both to you. First of all, where you see the laptop screen, this is bigfuture.org. So the only way to access bigfuture.org is on a laptop or a phone, but it is available to all students who are 13 or older. This is an important function for students because it truly begins with the end in mind. It works with students in a very interactive way to find out what's going to get them up out of bed for 30 years to go to a career. And it really works with the student through quizzes and answering questions to find out what they're interested in. Now, looking over here at the phone is Big Future School. In North Carolina, the only kids that have access to this app, and it is an app, are students who have taken the PSAT during the school day, and that's your CMS 10th and 11th graders. So they have access to the app. Now, both of these platforms are exactly the same. The students can get what they want from both. But on the app, students may be more engaged to work on their phone rather than on a laptop. And so they had the option when they took the PSAT this 10th grade or 11th grade year to opt in to get this app. Some may have, some may have not. Not a problem because they always have the option of bigfuture.org. So when my child turned 13, all I had at that time was bigfuture.org. I immediately put her on there so she could play around, and she did all the way through her senior year. Now let's talk about the app part first. So your students who took the PSAT in the 10th grade this fall or the 11th grade this fall or will take it in the future have access to the app. So it's a free mobile app. They get their score quickly on that app. They can also get their score through their College Board account, which connects them to bigfuture.org. And all they have to do is provide their mobile number during the exam. This is all totally optional, and their identifiable information, their personal identifiable information, is never shared. So here's what they can do with the app. They can also do this on bigfuture.org. On the app, they get easy score access. In bigfuture.org, they have to go through their College Board account. They have interactive tools and quizzes, just like we do on .org, to find out what they're interested in. They can get college and career guidance. It does connect them to nonprofit colleges and scholarship providers if they want to. If they don't want to, they don't have to. But if they want to, they're going to be opted in. What the app also does is it when the score release comes out and based on what the data revealed when they took that PSAT, it begins to connect them to you seem like you're really good in computation. Have you thought about any careers in this area? So it gives them career insights and career explorer. This part is the connection to the score is not in the .org, but it is all of this the students will get to see in .org as well. This career insight snapshot is really cool because it is giving students where they are in their skill levels. It's connecting to interest levels. And if a post-secondary education is required, it's letting them know that now. And they can begin to see things that they may be interested in based on what their data showed in that PSAT. They can also, if they choose, receive messages from colleges and universities. Now, I will tell you that the colleges and universities will begin to pursue them. This is where the colleges and universities are coming to them and saying, we're interested in you. And the students can mute them, get rid of them. They can save, sort, delete, do whatever they want to do. But it does give them insight to take the fear out of the unknown of, I don't know if I want to go away 2 hours and be on a campus that's large. And so it begins to work with them on understanding and seeing what next steps may be. And we have a college match. So through the app, they are able to see which colleges, and we can do this in .org too, which colleges match their preferences and that the students may be interested in. And when the students say, I'm interested in you, like we have on the screen, Virginia Commonwealth University, it can, if they choose to, let Virginia Commonwealth University know that, and then the school can begin in-app communication with the student if the student wants it and allows it. So let's do a reaction. Do you think an app like this Big Future app, would be something that your students would use? Do you think that this is something they would like?
I'm seeing a lot of hearts coming up. And for those teenage learners in my life, I know that an app is definitely a good way to hook them in. And I think our families are agreeing with that, Michelle.
Yeah, Molly, I agree with you. I think sometimes the kids are more likely to want to do the app than do the bigfuture.org. I got to be honest with you. Um, and I think that's a great way to get them thinking about life after high school. I will tell you that the app and bigfuture.org look at multiple lanes after high school, which I'm going to talk to you about here in just a minute. I'm so glad you think that will be helpful, and I love it. I don't normally like to talk about the app because not all kids have access to it. Your kids do in the 10th and 11th grade. And I am so thankful for that because there's no he does, but she doesn't. Everybody can have access to it. But I did want to talk just a minute. If you've got students who have not taken a PSAT yet, you get students as long as they're 13 or older, they have access to bigfuture.org. I love this. I got to tell you, it made all the difference in my daughter's life to have things to look at and to feel confident that it was okay to leave North Carolina. And that was tough for us as a family for her to go 9 hours away. But at the same time, she's a senior this year, and she's found something she's so passionate about, a career. So let's talk. The first thing it does, it explores careers just like the app, plans for college just like the app, and pay for college just like the app. This is all free. First thing that it does is, and it's bigfuture.org, is it helps students to begin to find what is going to motivate them at this point in their life. What are they interested in? We hear a lot about students wanting to be influencers. We also know, based on SAT data, that the number one intended major in North Carolina is business. This is what kids are interested in right now. And so, but some kids are not. Some kids have no clue. I was doing a big future presentation and I asked the group what they were interested in. And this little fella told me he wanted to be a day trader. I said, great. What do you do as a day trader? He was not sure. He just knew it involved stocks and money. So I said, you need to use your big future to find out exactly what you would be doing and what kind of education you may need. So they start students with a career quiz that goes to career profiles and then career insights. They're not talking about majors yet, not talking about schools. It's just, do you want to work with your hands? Do you want to work with people? What is it that you just love and want to do? Then it helps them to plan for college. This is so important for students that are coming from where they just may not know for sure, and they may not have a lot of opportunities to ask questions. So planning for college with Big Future is giving them these personalized planning checklists so that they can, okay, I'm a ninth grader now. Here's what I need to be doing. I'm a 10th grader now, etc. And then again, just like in the app, it's going to connect them to colleges and universities. And then, just like the app, it's going to support them in everything they need to do to apply for college. And then here's the great part. It helps students pay for college. And what that means is there are about $1 billion with a B dollars in scholarships that are only in Big Future, whether it's the app or whether it's .org. So we have the scholarship piece where it starts to match kids with scholarships, some that are big, some that are tiny and very specific. And then it does support financial aid, helping parents and students understand what financial aid means, support with the FAFSA, whatever we need to be sure that we understand what's going on. Lots of videos, lots of explanations. So here's the most important thing I want you to know about both the app and online is that students determine what privacy, what information they give. We do not share any personal identifiable information. The students are in complete control whether they want schools to contact them or not, either through .org or through the app. And students choose whether to update their preferences. Do they want to let their colleges and universities know what their current GPA is? Do they? My daughter never gave her phone number or her email. She gave them our mailing address, and so we got a ton of mail. And they were just pursuing her, all of these colleges and universities we'd never known about, and they were pursuing her through the mail, which felt safer for her because it didn't blow up her phone or blow up her email. So as we wrap up, could you use a reaction to show us now how prepared you feel to maybe have a PSAT, SAT, or a big future discussion with your student at some point? Do you feel very prepared, more prepared, or you going to look at some resources?
Michelle, we're seeing a good variety. A lot of families are seeing that very prepared, more prepared, and a few families are saying, I need to go back and look at these resources, which is great just to know
Yes.
where to go and what to do next as a parent.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I thank you so much for that. We do have, as part of the deck, some resources for our Spanish-speaking families. So I'm going to just show you lots of stuff available to you online about the things we've talked about today. And so, my friend Molly, I'm going to turn it back over to you and see if we've got any questions.
At this time, we do not. Families, if
Okay.
you have any questions, please add them into our Q&A as we conclude the call. I would like to highlight in that Q&A section, families, you'll find that sign in for today as well as today's slide deck. You'll also find all of the links that Michelle has reviewed. We have that fabulous psat.org/scholarships link, the SAT Suites at College Board for registering for those upcoming assessment dates and windows. I know one is next month, so please be sure to look into that if needed. And we also have our bigfuture.org link added within our Q&A for all of our families to easily access.
Molly, can
Families,
I say one more thing?
yeah,
I'm so
go
sorry.
ahead. Of
I
course.
totally forgot to mention that if there are SAT fee waivers available, so for students that want to check with their school counselor to see if they have qualified for an SAT fee waiver, that way they can take the SAT on a Saturday at no cost.
That is such a great resource. Thank you for
Thank you.
highlighting that, Michelle.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Michelle, if my student, one question is if my
Yes.
student did not sign up to get the app when they took their assessment, is there a way to request the app or would it just be for that next assessment they could opt in next year?
Yes, they can opt in the next time for sure. And then they can use bigfuture.org for now. And then the two will mesh when they take their next assessment.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Within our schools, is there a best point of contact for our families to reach out to for any SAT support?
I think the best place to start would be with your school counselor's office and let the wonderful people there direct and guide where to go. But that's the best place to start.
Wonderful, absolutely. So, families, if there's questions around the SAT, those fee waivers, where your students are, or any of their assessment information, please feel free to reach out to your child's school. If after today's call there are any remaining questions, please feel free to reach out to our family engagement team. I will be adding our email into the pinned Q&A, and we'll make sure that any of those questions get added for Miss Michelle or for the CMS team to answer and support for you in the future. And families, thank you for your engagement today. As we do not have any remaining questions, we hope that today's coffee chat was beneficial. You learned lots of great resources, tips, and tricks to support your student through their SAT. And we look forward to seeing all of that great growth and a success as your child begins this journey. We hope that everyone stays warm and has a wonderful day. Thank you to Michelle for presenting our such fabulous
Thank you.
information. And thank you to all of our families for joining.